Today we're looking at Drawmer's 1977 channel strip. It's Drawmer's most comprehensive channel strip to date. It features modules from Drawmer's other 1970s equipment, but it puts them all in one place. So you have a very clean mic preamp which goes up to 66 dB, and it also features an instrument input and a line input. It's on a stepped attenuator, so it's instantly recallable. It offers a 3-band EQ system, parametric EQ system. It has a FET compressor, which is very versatile. It has a saturation section after the compressor, and it also has an attenuator at the end. It's fully packed with amazing features. There's everything on it that you could possibly imagine. So let's have a look at it, let's get into it, let's run some sounds through it, and let's see what it's like. The preamplifier section is found on the left of the 1977's front panel. There's a source selection switch here that selects between instrument, line input, and 3 settings for different impedances, which are useful if you're using different microphones. So if you've got old dynamic microphones, you might want to switch between these things to find the best setting for your particular microphone. Also, these can be used to alter the tonality of your microphone input, so you might want to play with those things when you're recording, because you might find that you prefer one setting over another. There's also a 48 volts phantom power switch here. There's a polarity reversal switch, and there's also a switchable high pass filter which goes from 16 Hz up to 130 Hz, so you could use that to reduce rumble and low frequency content on your recordings. Moving along, we have the equalizer section with the low band, a sweepable mid band, and a high band. The low band goes from 40 Hz to 725 Hz. It has a switchable slope, so you can utilize these buttons in order to change the slope dB of the cut and boost on the low section. So you could apply more drastic cuts and boosts, or have a more mild shaping sound. So it could go from kind of like Pool Tech, quite mild wide band settings, through to more peaky settings, and indeed there is a peak. So if you wanted to really reduce the Q on the low frequencies, you can switch between these different settings to do so. The mid band, again, cut and boost of plus and minus 12 dB, and we have frequencies from 140 Hz up to 1.3 kilohertz. So quite a lot of variation there on the mid band, and you can change the Q setting here. The high band, again, plus and minus 12 dB, and it goes from 530 Hz up to 20 kilohertz, and again you can switch between the slope octave between 12 and 6 dB, so you can tighten up the Q on the high band there. Below that we have the compressor section with familiar controls. We have the threshold control, a ratio control from 1 up to 10, which is from very mild ratios up to pretty much limiting, and you have an attack and a release. You also have this PGM switch, which basically enables, it's like an auto release, so it works on the program material, which could be very useful for certain sources. There are 2 additional switches here, big and air. You find these on other Drawmer units. Big will filter out the very low frequencies to preserve the bass, and alternatively you have the air setting here, which is more of a low pass filter, which will exclude the higher frequencies from the compression circuit. Immediately after the compressor we have a saturation circuit, and this basically introduces saturation after the compression. You have a low pass filter and a high pass filter. So if you wanted to, say, saturate just the mids and the highs, so you wanted to avoid any kind of woofy sort of distorted sounds on the low end, you'd switch in this switch, and that basically filters out the low end. And again, you have a low pass filter which will essentially filter out the high end. So if you wanted to just saturate the mid frequencies, you could engage both of these switches and you would leave the low end and the high end frequencies unsaturated, and it would just introduce saturation to the mid frequencies, which could be very, very useful. Next to that, you have a gain makeup and a switch to switch the comp in and out. There's also a very handy switch here which basically switches between EQ into compressor, or alternatively compressor into EQ. So that's really handy. That's such a great addition there. You know, you can really tailor the sound in that way. Going to the right hand side, we have two knobs. We have a mix for wet dry control, which is absolutely fantastic. We have a 10 decibel pad, and we have what is called a fade. And what is a fade? Well, it's essentially an attenuator, so you can tailor the output going to your next device, so you can set up your gain stage. There's also a Preamp Direct button, which is really useful because basically that excludes all of the modules here, the EQ, the compressor, and all those things, and it just takes your signal directly from the very clean preamp to your output, and that will give you an extremely clean signal. All the following examples were recorded through the Drawmer with no additional treatments whatsoever. This bass line was originally recorded through the Drawmer, but then it was resampled by running it back out through the Drawmer, adding EQ, adding compression, and adding saturation. Here I've tried to run a drum loop through the Drawmer and really try and destroy it. I mean, we're going from maximum settings here, you know. I'm trying to illustrate how far you can take things, you know. So this is drum destruction through the Drawmer. what do I think of the Drawmer 1977 channel strip? I think it's really good. I think Drawmer have done something really cool with this. It has everything that you could possibly want on a channel strip. The individual modules are all really, really good. The preamp is clean. Nothing to complain about there. It's got detail. It's clean all the way up. The EQ is very expressive. The EQ is what I would term as quite sweet. You know, it does what it's supposed to do. There's a range of controls available with the different slope settings, so you can really tailor it. Yeah, the highs were not harsh at all. The bass was not woolly. It was quite solid, and the mid range was awesome. The compressor is interesting. It's a FET compressor, and it has that smack to it. It can really deliver, you know, on a lot of different sources. Certainly on drums, really smashed the drums in a good way. The other things I tried it on guitar and bass, it performed really well. So yeah, the compressor is a very useful utility compressor. The fact that you have the saturation out of the compressor is a really nice thing. It just has a certain it has a characteristic to it. It's not brutal. It's not like a fuzz box or anything. It introduces a really warm extra to the sound. It doesn't have to sound distorted. You could just add a little bit, and it really just tickles the sound in a really nice way. You know, it's very good. It's also the fact that you can tailor it with the low pass and the high pass filter and cut out the lows and the highs on that, you know, and just saturate the mid range. Like I said, you know, you'd be really hard pressed to find other things that you could add to it, and the way that it's laid out on the panel is very elegant. It's a really great workflow. I feel like the wet dry control is a really great addition. Every analog unit should have a wet dry control, and the attenuator is just awesome because it means that you can tailor the back end of it to go into your next part of your chain. All in all, I think that they've really knocked it out of the park with this. I think if it's possible that a piece of kit could be described adequately as a Swiss Army knife of gear, this could be it, because it just has all the things that you'd want on a channel strip, and it performed really well for me, and I feel that this unit is a really good unit, and it's worth your consideration for sure. Drawmer have really done something really good with this, you know, really good. So that's my opinion. Okay, see you next time.